Gaining to the space, chasing all of the game.
The crypto market is way down, and it's feeling very cold and boring, which means many people are sleeping on the chances for getting in at the very best prices. Let me just make sure we're live. It's going live. Prices that are now very cold and boring, but will once again be very hot again. And right now we're at these cheapest prices. And it's just the way the cycles work and why contrarian investing can be so profitable. Now, if you were a part-time gamer like I am, you probably heard of Illuvium. We interviewed Kieran Warwick of Illuvium last year, and I was very impressed. I thought he was the right man to make a top-level game that has an amazing chance to be very, very good. There we go. If you're in chat, just let me know that the live stream's coming through okay. D-Money is out for the day. Now, I thought he was the right man to make a top-level game, and one that will be exceptional, and one of the best games in the world. And the reason is because he's very focused, committed, and driven. He also has a key component that many top-level people miss. It's one I really like to see in top people, and that is he always seeks to add more value than what he asks for. Now, Illuvium is going to do their land sale on June 2nd, and there are different ways to look at this through the gamer lens, the investor lens, and also an investor who is also a gamer. And what we want to know is, will the land be worth it? In order to come to any levels of conclusions, we have to have an understanding of the potential value of the land to understand if we feel buying it might be worth it. So we'll go over what we know about the land, the value proposition of land, and some conclusions. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. If you like money and you like crypto and you're looking for a real investor's take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family by liking the video and subscribing with the all notifications bell enabled. Do note I'm not a financial advisor. I am a crypto investor myself. I do own or plan to own most of what I talk about on this channel because I don't talk about crypto projects I don't believe in. And Illuvium is definitely one that I believe in. Although I was cautious when its price went to crazy prices at over $1,000 for the token itself. It's now back to a much more attractive level. So we could talk about that, but we're going to spend most of the focus today really talking about the land and whether it's of value or interest. Special thanks to our Patreon members. We do have a private Discord that our Patreon members get access to. And we just did our pre-live stream. And they get access to that as well as I get to hear your questions directly and interact with you directly. All right. Okay. So looking at the comments, Halftime USAA says, feeling bullish. The run is coming. That's been my feeling too. I'm feeling bullish and that the run is coming too. And remember, it was just a week and a half ago that the total market sentiment went so bearish. And many people still are feeling very bearish right now, which is what makes me happy. Now, if you follow the principles, which I talk about on this channel, that you don't invest money that you can't afford to lose, you don't play with leverage, and you're willing to be patient, it's amazing the kind of returns that you can make over time. And so even through this kind of shakedown where the prices go like crazy, it sucks having some of your portfolio drop tremendously. But after the rain, the sun comes out and everything's great again. Dougie Collins says, coming through fine, Jay. Hey, halftime, Dougie. I love it how much a lot of our audience got to know each other. All right. Now, make it rain on that like button. Strap in for the show. D is away for vacation with the family. So I am also the producer today, which means we're totally in for a bumpy production ride. So if you want deeper coverage into Illuvium as far as the game itself and how that works, this isn't necessarily the video. To get us a feel for Illuvium, I'm going to talk about the gameplay just briefly. I'll show you a little game trailer, but I'm going to focus on the value proposition of the land. Now, that Kieran Warwick interview from the CEO is 9 months back. Let me share my screen. Let's see here. And you can see it back here. This is the one you're looking for. It was recorded 9 months ago. Illuvium play to earn game. Can't wait to play. Interview with Kieran Warwick. It's a good one to get a feel, but I want to show you this trailer, and that's not the trailer. Yeah, this is one of the trailers, but the game trailer, here we go. right in here gives you a little bit of feel for the game. Now, I'm going to check. Let me know if you can hear the audio fine, because the audio helps. And you can find this on YouTube. They do have their own channel. All right, that's as much of the gameplay as we're, and this is just a trailer of the show, showing you this is an alluvial here. This is one of the characters. Great audio. Hope you're hearing the audio fine. But very good trailer, and it gives you a little bit of feel for the game. Now, what's cool about this is if you think about what Illuvium really is, it's World of Warcraft meets Pokemon, in that there's these alluvials in the world that you can actually go out and capture them. And some of these will be extremely rare. And some of these, because they're only released for a certain amount of time, down the road might be extremely sought after. And what I love about that is it introduces a scarcity mechanism. And as an investor, critical part of some things doing well in value is scarcity. And so if this game is fantastic and it gets traction, my hope is some of these alluvials that you can go out and earn through playing and capture be worth a lot of money. So let's get into a little bit about what this land sale is coming up. Now in the game, you'll be able to explore the world and catch these alluvials. But in order to try to catch them, you will need to have the Illuvium equivalent of Pokeballs. And fuel plays a critical role in your journey of catching and upgrading these alluvials in the mini game. So I guess you need fuel probably to create these Pokeball type things that you can catch the Illuvium with, or the alluvials. As well as they do have Illuvium Zero, which is a mobile play to earn game. Let me give you a little bit of feel of this. This is Illuvium Zero. I'll just have this run in the background. This is Illuvium Zero and what it's going to look like. And it is close to launch, and it'll be launching the weeks after the land sale. However, with this game, it'll give you an idea of how to play it. And the land does relate to both this and the main world, specifically this. And the land in the game that you can buy, you'll be able to set up these resources on it. And you'll be able to harvest some resources from your land using Illuvium Zero, as well as scan for alluvium that are alluvials that are traveling through there. And if you're able to scan them, that'll allow you to be able to get blueprints for new skins for those alluvials, which then you can put those skins up for sale on the Illuvidex, or you can use them yourself. Now, Illuvidex is the official marketplace for Illuvium. Another additional benefit for landholders, let me just minimize this, is that you will get 5% of the revenues from Illuvium as a game studio that will be shared with landholders. And what's interesting is they use the word as a game studio because they plan on making more than just this game. As you can see, they're actually making 2 games out of this world, the Illuvium, the mobile game, as well as the Illuvium regular game. So Illuvium Zero is what they're calling the mobile game. If other games come down the road, what they're saying is you get 5% of the revenues of Illuvium as a game studio shared with you. And there will only ever be 100,000 pieces of land total. That's pretty incredible. I mean, that's a lot, and it's not a lot at the same time. And this first land sale will just be selling 20,000 of them. So I'm going to summarize the value proposition as we understand it so far. With the land, you'll be able to harvest energy every day. Energy, or it'll be gas or whatever that you're harvesting. You can also scan and harvest blueprints for cosmetics for the alluvials who frequent that area. There will be, so that's 2 things. There'll be 5% revenue sharing to landholders. Now that value proposition sounds interesting. There'll be 100,000 total units, and they'll be selling off just 20% of that in this land sale. And there are different regions of land. So I guess let's jump into that a little bit before we can complete how we feel about this land sale and whether it's worth it or not. All right, let's make this bigger. The 7 regions are Taiga Boreal, Abyssal Basin, Brightland Steppes, Shard Bluff Labyrinth, Crimson Waste, Crystal Shores, and Halcyon Sea. Okay, so some of these relate to like water and the different resources, right? Like fire, water, I think forest, and I forget some of the other ones like Crimson Waste. I wouldn't be surprised if that's fire. And some of these other ones, it is broken down. And I think this information is known. I'm still just diving in deeper myself as I try to get a feel for which specific areas I want to go for and how I think about them. Now, with these different areas, you'll have different alluvials that frequent those areas. So they will make a difference. The different alluvials that are native to that areas, we can get a feel for that right now as some of the introduction alluvials have been announced. And so if you think about it, those will be the alluvials that frequent your land from whatever area. Now, you can do some research and find out exactly which starting alluvials will likely be in those areas, and you can gauge some sentiment within the Discord to get a feel for that. And that will give you an idea of which ones might be, which land pieces might be sought after, because it might have alluvials that frequent that area in the early days. But it's very hard to tell which alluvials will be hottest in the future because we just know what starting alluvials are. And in talking to Kieran, what will happen is that they'll release some alluvials, but then the more that those are caught, the harder they are to find. So eventually you run out, like you can't keep catching those kind, and there will be other alluvials that are introduced. And so we don't have any idea what the future alluvials are, which gives me an idea of a value proposition. Let's say I'm not happy with where the prices are at and I decide to wait, and say one area is seen as very, very hot and the price of that land goes for 2 or 3 or 4 times what maybe some other area that doesn't have any starting alluvials that anybody really cares about cosmetics for. But we don't know what might come down the road, and that area might get some love down the road. So that's my thought on it. So let's just kind of look at the value proposition and see where we're at. Let me blow up the screen bigger. Now, I don't know if you guys can even see this still clearly. So the starting price, there will be 5 tiers of land, and the starting price for tier 5 land is going to be in a live English auction, and that there only be, I believe, 2 of those for sale, and that will be done in a live English auction style. So basically people bid and then somebody else bids and somebody else bids. I don't know about you, but I don't plan to participate in that because the starting ETH price for these ones below it are like 80. It'll be interesting to see what these go for, but I imagine that's a realm outside of what I have now. Tier 5 land, the cool thing about it is that you can have, well, only the tier 5 land in each area will have an arena. In that arena, you can have sponsors and other things, and you'll be able to get the revenue for those sponsors that sponsor the arena. And say down the road, this game's really, really popular, and you have big sponsors like airlines or other people that want to put their name on it, that could be some significant revenue in the future. So, but keep in mind, that's an if this game does really, really well in the future. My guess is it does, but it's not a known fact at this point. Great question by Hardcore. What's your thought, investing in land or the coin? I'm going to share with you my thoughts on the land, and then we'll talk about the coin while we're here and have a live stream open today. Great question. Are you guys YOLO in this project? Asked 3 Doritos later too. When the price was really high, I was not going to buy in, even though I really like the project. I always wait for things to cool and the price to get more attractive before I pay those kind of prices. So the starting price for tier 4 land plots starts at 80. Now, keep in mind that this is the starting price. Tier 3 land starts at 20 ETH, tier 2 land at 6 ETH, and tier 1 at 2 ETH. So there's a breakdown I have that gives you an idea of what the different tiers of land really are. And so hopefully you can see this. I'll make it even bigger here. And you can see 0 is what anyone can get for free. And free land that's not connected to revenue share. This land would be similar to a tier 4 land, meaning that it would have higher outputs, but without the unique landmark, cannot be purchased in the auction. So I guess people can get tier 0, as my understanding. It's free, probably what normal people can play with, that you don't necessarily own. Tier 1, you do own it, and you get these fuel sites. So you'll be able to get fuel harvested from it, as well as 3 element sites. So you get elements and fuel, and it gives you kind of an idea. So 3 of these fuels or element sites on it, and one of these is a fuel site. Starting price at 2 ETH. Now, if you look at the next level, the price goes up by 3x over tier 1 land. So tier 2 is 3x more expensive. But you do get 3 times as many fuel sites, and you do get double the amount of element sites. Plus, you get a production boost of 33.33%, which is interesting. They added this feature with the production boost, because otherwise, the value proposition going up 3x in price it would have made more sense just to focus on tier 1 land, which is often the case in many games. It just makes sense to buy the entry-level land. This makes tier 2 a lot more interesting. Although 6 ETH, I don't know about you, but I am not interested at the 6 ETH price. Here's tier 3. I don't know who's going to be interested in these unless this price falls down completely, and we'll show what the price falls to after how many minutes. If this comes down to a much better price, this is pretty amazing, because not only do you get 6 fuel sites, but 9 element sites. You get an element landmark, and you get 100% production boost. Well, that's pretty significant. And tier 4 is pretty amazing too, if this is affordable. And it starts at 80 ETH, so it's not going to start at something affordable. And maybe some guilds and other people will be interested in paying the bigger fees like this. But 80 ETH, ouch, you get 1 fuel landmark. So tier 3 had an element landmark. This is a fuel landmark. It has a production boost of 300%, and fuel sites has got 9, element sites has got 12. And then tier 5 is like 900% production boost, the arena, and a lot of things. But probably these are going to go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, as far as what the numbers look like, now, this was really cool. This was done by another gamer, or another person I found on YouTube that had come as a guest on some videos and done this. So shout out to him. He did a great job. And I am trying to find where I wrote down who to give the proper credit to. My apologies. I did put a link in the video so that you can all find this. It is really cool because you can change this. Now, everyone has access to the same sheet. And so I'm going to change it, but somebody can change it back. So I'm going to change the currency to ETH. And this is going to be a tier 1. And so what's nice is you can see, and let me see if, yeah, I guess that's as much zoomed in as I can get you. So after 60 minutes, which means halfway through, the price will have fallen to 0.4 ETH if there's still any available at tier 1. Okay, so that price starts to get a lot more attractive. So at 2 ETH, does this make sense? Yes. Now, it's possible that all the tier 1 gets scooped up by the big boys. Now, the market's slow, thank goodness, or there wouldn't be any chance to get this at other than their launch prices. Now, I don't know about you. I don't like Dutch auctions, but I understand why the game went towards this, because imagine they had released these at like 0.2 ETH a piece. The problem is you would have had whales who had programmers who could program some bots, and they would have created 500 different wallets, and they would have scooped up and bought everything at the launch prices, and then they would have immediately marked it up and sold it slowly at much, much higher prices. And they would have extracted all the value, not allowing any of that value to go to those of us who want to play the game and believe in it, as well as are patient, want to wait for how the long term looks and be able to buy it at a cheaper price and then just hold it for a long time. So I get the Dutch auction, why they went that way. I just hate them. right? Because it makes you kind of anxious, because this only happens over 2 hours. So you got to be sitting there at your computer refreshing on June 2nd and seeing how many have sold and get a feel for where the prices drop to. Now, if it drops to 0.1 ETH, oh my gosh, I mean, that's when I will sell off massive things and be buying massive numbers of land myself. At 2 ETH, the value proposition is about even to me. And it starts to get really good for tier 1, starts to get really good as it falls to 1 ETH after 26 minutes, and then get really good below that, where in my own opinion, for my own dollar spent, it's probably worth what I'm going to invest in. Now, as for your portfolio and your risk assessment, this is really a decision you have to make for yourselves, because I can't give you financial advice. I'm not trying to. I'm just telling you my thoughts for myself on the value proposition. Now, tier 3 and 4, I'm really only going to be interested in if it gets down the road and it falls. Like if tier 3 fell to like 3 or 4 ETH, yeah, I'd probably really be interested. I would have to liquidate some things to free up some extra ETH, but I can make that happen. Above that, like 20 ETH, no way. Like I would have to sell so many other things in order to just be able to buy one tier 3. So they did go the Dutch auction style, and they purposely started them at a really high price so that they all didn't sell out to bots, so that those who most wanted these could afford to get one, because they could buy as they start seeing things getting picked up. Tier 4, I mean, wouldn't we love it if they end up lasting to the end, and you could buy one for 3.83 ETH. I know some of you had the funds and some of you don't, but I would definitely buy one if it gets down to that price. I just don't know that it will. So let's go back to tier 2, because really tier 1 and tier 2 are going to be in the budget for most people. It gets really exciting after minute 50 when it's fallen down to like 1.65 ETH, and then under an ETH, etc. Now, here's the downside of buying in a Dutch auction. You have to be there watching for literally 2 hours to kind of gauge the value proposition as you're there. You don't know where that value proposition is going to be and at like where it fits until you really know what the price is. Now, is this game going to do well? The reason I say probably is because of how hyper-focused Kieran Warwick is. And when I interviewed with him, like I talked to a lot of project owners, some different CEOs, and Kieran was one of the ones I felt was most focused on making this happen of all the people that I've interviewed with. So I got this feeling from him, it's going to happen. He's going to make it happen. Now, sometimes things happen, like planes crash or just crazy things. Some life event happens that changes it. So it's always a risk in investment. And there's no certainty, is what I'm trying to say. So you don't know for sure. So what I try to do is I take probabilities. What's the probability that this is worth a lot more in the future than it is now? And I made that probabilities guess about 3 years ago on a little known project called Axie Infinity that nobody knew about hardly, and nobody was talking about it. And I bought a bunch of land, and that land didn't do hardly anything for a solid year and a half. Now, 2.5 years later, the land had 1,000x'd, but for a year and a half, it did nothing. In fact, for a year and a half, it was worth less than what it sold on the initial sale. So I am grateful that Illuvium is launching their land sale during a down market. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any chance to get in this even at like 2 ETH starting price for the entry-level land. So it makes it more affordable that it's actually, you're able to get into it. Now, at what prices do I start getting interested? I start getting really interested at the 1 ETH price and below for tier 1 land, at the 2 ETH price and below for tier 2 land, and the tier 3 land stuff. If it gets below like 3 ETH or something, I'll probably be interested. Now, let me jump into and just check 3 Doritos later, like 8 ETH. What? So Hardcore had asked the question about what I believe more in the land or the coin. I like both. And what you see from Kieran with both the token and the land is that they try to include you in the value of things being generated. You know, a lot of games out there, they'll try to keep all this value themselves. Or in this land sale, I remember Kieran, when we talked about 9 months ago, a lot of projects were doing these land sales, and he's like, yeah, one of our team members really wants us to do a land sale, but I don't want to do it till I understand how to make it worth it to be a land owner, and that it makes sense for everyone. So clearly he spent a lot of time looking at ways to return value to those who believe in the project and invest in it, so that they can participate in some of the benefits there. I just realized this whole time I'm not sharing my camera. This is, I told you it'd be a bumpy ride with me being producer. It's been really nice having D Money handle that. So I like the value proposition of it, and I start to like it at those prices. Do I believe the token will do well? Yes, and it's finally at a price that I can start being excited about. Let me just pull up. I'm going to pull up the chart for Illuvium, and we'll take a look at it. Bring it into here. All right, and share my screen. Okay, so here we have it on CoinGecko. It's at $287 right now. It's down 3%. This is what I like about it. We have this head and shoulders pattern, came down as base, it's dipping down even farther, and it might come down some more depending on how long this bearishness goes. If it goes another couple of months, it might drop some more. If you look at it, the market cap now is only 187 million. Do keep in mind that the circulating supply is just 1/10 of the total supply, which in this particular case, there's still another 3 million in the max supply. So this market cap's pretty nice. This does mean that there's probably some vesting still going on of their tokens over time, because not even 1/10 are totally in supply. If it were fully diluted, meaning all the tokens were out there, it says that it's a $2.87 billion market cap. Now, Axie Infinity's market cap went quite crazy for a while, and I do think there's even more money to be made in crypto gaming than the market cap that Axie Infinity's AXS token hit when we hit another bull market. So what I'm looking to do is make strategic entries on this token. This land, I'll probably buy some, but keep in mind with this land, we don't know if it's going to keep going up or down. My guess is that there's a period after the launch that for a little while, some people who bought have some buyer's remorse, and they turn around and sell it for even less. Jay, or Hardcore, asked me, Jay, can you touch on staking the coin? I thought I heard it was possible and bringing in good returns. Yes, you can stake it. I don't have any yet, so I haven't staked it. But if you go to Illuvium's site, I think we're on it here, and you go to staking, connect your wallet up. I think you can stake it right through here. So really good diagram, like great, like top-notch stuff. I can't stress enough how well Illuvium does at just continuing their branding, and just what I see from them over many, many steps is high quality. So I really like what I've seen from them. Now, let's take a look at why I think it might drop. Another project that launched recently is Other Deed for Other Side, which is the video game that Bored Ape Yacht Club was working on. Now, this came out with a whole lot of hype because Bored Ape Yacht Club had done so well, right? And they did a really good job with Bored Ape Yacht Club of delivering lots of value to the holders. And first, it was like the private Discord, but then they kept doing these additional drops for those that held the Bored Ape. They also gave the Bored Ape Yacht Club holders the intellectual property rights to some extent for their Bored Ape, which was really cool. And they did a fantastic job on the NFTs. Now, I didn't buy any in this land sale. If you had got one, you could have got one for, I think, 2.5 ETH was the initial sale price. So it was up, but it did flip right away to about 5 ETH as the floor price, or just under 5 ETH. And you can see it's now been coming down. And that's because it's kind of fading from this hype moment. And this often happens. So if you don't participate in the land sale for Illuvium, I would not write that one off. In fact, if you don't have the money free to participate in it, I would just keep an eye on it, on how they do on the resale market, and see if maybe there's a period that some people that have buyer's remorse sell and it drives the price down. Now, Axie Infinity, I bought in the early days. I think it was January 2019, and they started their land sale, if I'm getting that date right. And I bought some like right away. It was like day 2 or day 3 of the land sale. And their land sale was actually open for like 9 months because it didn't sell out for like 9 months. It took forever because it was a down market. There wasn't a lot of money. A lot of people didn't get this idea of blockchain gaming. They're like, oh, it's this Axie Infinity thing. And most hadn't really even heard it or paid attention to it. And for me, I was all about it. But I did buy a bunch, and then you were then able to list what you had on OpenSea and other places. And then they came out with an internal marketplace, and the prices dropped to half or 1/4, I think, of what I paid at the very bottom, or maybe lost 60% of the value from what I paid. And I was like, oh, darn it. Gosh, I really think this will do well, though. I'm just going to hold on to these because I'm not going to sell at these lower prices. So maybe, I mean, that happened with Axie Infinity, and later, Axie Infinity took off and did amazing, incredible numbers, even from what I paid. But what I'm hoping with that story is that Illuvium, that there's some opportunities to get it day 1 at the launch and watching closely. But if not, sometimes there's this opportunity window that happens a month or 2 or 3 later, as people aren't thinking about the game so much, and it kind of fades from the view. And people need to free up liquidity for some other hot, shiny object, and that's a really good time to buy. All right. Abe says, great content, but unfortunately, I'm fully deployed. These next few months will be outstanding. That's a great problem to have. That means you understand the space, you have it deployed like I did on Axie Infinity, right? And I didn't pick up more at the discounts. Why? Because I was fully deployed. And at the time, I had a day job, and I made money through my day job, and I would put as much extra as I could into crypto, but I still had to pay all my bills. And so I'm 5 years into this crypto journey, whereas many of you, it's your first year. Now, I really look forward to the day that for many of you, this is year 5 for you in your crypto journey. And I hope if I do a good job, that many of you are even farther ahead than I am 5 years into it. And by a good job of sharing some of my learning experiences and some of my hitting my head against the pavement moments, so that hopefully you have less of those. But just know, even if you have less of them, there are plenty of those moments to be had, and you will still have some. Bob the Builder sends a super chat. Thank you, Bob. Do you still think Spores can survive because their market cap is so low? Can you give some examples on how some older projects died? Love the streams. I do think they can survive. A lot of projects do during this time. Their market caps go to incredibly low. There was a project called Verge, and it was a privacy token. And I don't remember when they launched, 2016 or something. So by 2017, their market cap had gone down to $200,000. And there's another crypto YouTuber I know that had a channel for quite a while. In fact, he started, I think, early 2017, and he covered Verge. And there was a guy that put $10,000 into Verge's coin at the $200,000 market cap. And so later, when their total market cap went to like 200 or 400 million, I think maybe even 600 million at the top, something big, he made an absolute fortune. But it is high risk, high return, but also the potential to go to zero if the team calls it quits, gives up, and like they just like, I'm out, I'm done. So on to your bigger question about how are there some projects of how older projects died. Yeah, some projects die because they run out of money. Well, that's essentially how most all of them die. They run out of money. They're not able to raise more money to keep it going. They run out of money either because of poor spending, poor planning. Because if you raise 5 million, 10 million, 100 million, why do you not have enough funds for your plan for like 3 or 4 or 5 years? Especially with the newer mechanisms where they raise some through that, but they also allocate a bunch of their tokens to vest to themselves, or what they call their treasury, that they can then sell, so that they raise some funds that way. And usually there's this, honeymoon period when a project launches, that for a couple months they're in the spotlight still. They have some of their treasury vesting, so they're able to raise additional funds as to what they raised initially. So why did they not set aside enough to make it at least 3 or 4 years, which 3 or 4 years gives them time to be at least through some bull market and do well. So there are a lot that failed, and that's usually why. Do I have the same take on DOWS and DRE? So DRE is an interesting in that DRE is very much a hybrid. So they're like Uber on the blockchain, which means that they're competing against very large, powerful, centralized entities. And there's no real reason that what they're doing needs to be on a blockchain necessarily, but it probably was the easiest route for funding for them. It's a high risk project. The market cap is way down. I've covered a lot on my channel because we talk about investment stuff here, right? And what investments, what projects I like. So I really did like their CEO, and the team and the project makes a difference. And she seemed very committed to this future. And really, she started the company because she was feeling as she traveled for business, she always took like Uber and Lyfts everywhere she went. And so one of the drivers asked if she could just pay the driver through like Venmo rather than through the app, and he would still take her, but he would do it for a little bit cheaper rate. And she's like, well, why would you do that? And he's like, oh, because they take like 60% of what we make. And she's like, what? You're kidding me. And so she paid him outside for a cheaper price. And then she started asking questions every time she got in the car with the driver, asked them questions. And just like these big companies have squeezed what the drivers makes they make so little, the drivers were super unhappy, while they've also been raising the rates on riders. So she felt like there was an opening there. Though the market cap on DRE is really low. So while everything is down, I just picked up some more DRE. Is it risky? Yes. I mean, especially with that one, that there's larger components. They're fighting against bigger centralized competitors. There's not a super solid reason as to why they need to be on the blockchain. So it's a speculative bet for me. It's risky that if it gets a lot of traction during a bull market, and they did record something with the BBC. When I re-interviewed with them, with the CEO just recently, I forgot to ask her what is the status on the BBC interview, because the BBC was going to do a special on them. I don't think that's aired yet. And so if they come back into focus of the crypto market, do really well. Like Illuvium is starting to come back into the focus of the crypto market. They were very much in it 6 months ago. If you were talking blockchain gaming, there were 2 projects you were talking about, Star Atlas and Illuvium. This is the hottest 2, and their market caps went absolutely crazy. People ask me, oh my gosh, are you buying them? I'm like, I don't jump on boats that I already missed. I wait till they come back to port. And as you can see on the price, I no longer have that pulled up. Let me pull it up real quick again. And then we'll look at DRE, and we'll look at this other one from the viewer suggestion. Great thing about tuning into live streams, because I can just look at your suggestions or answer your questions live. Okay, let me share my screen. All right. Getting better at this producer thing again. It's been a long time since I had to worry about that. Okay, so DRE's price right now dropped even more just recently to under 0.2 cents. Now, it was recently 20 something cents. So they came out actually in even CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap don't often catch the very beginning. I think at the very beginning, it was at like 4 cents, and it went up to 6 and 10 cents, and then it went all the way to 20 something cents. It has since come down to 1/100th of that at 0.2 cents. So let's look at some interesting metrics here. We want to find their market caps, which we don't have on this. So we don't know a market cap. Let's see if we can look at their circulating supply. We don't know. Their total supply is 1 billion tokens. They don't even give us a fully diluted market cap. Come on, they are letting us down. Maybe Coin Market Cap will give us better numbers on this. ERF. Well, I like where the price is at. I mean, 0.177 cents. It's risky, just like if you put a whole bunch into this, you're crazy if you're putting tons into this, because there is just the risk that they don't make it, that they call it quits. It was too hard. It didn't come together like they thought it was going to. And they close the doors. Okay, fully diluted market cap, 5.7 million, which is a really small fully diluted market cap. Circulating supply is 623 million drive. Okay, good. And the max supply is about 3x of that. So about 1/3 of their tokens are in circulation. Good, good. Much better information here. You can trade it right from PancakeSwap, which if you go to the markets tab, you can then click on this. It'll open up PancakeSwap for you and connect your MetaMask to it and make a trade if you're interested. All right. Let me look any other questions have. So DOWS is a high risk, like Verge was, and specifically DOWS is in the same narrative that Verge was. VGX or Verge was a privacy token. So it was private transactions, and DOWS particularly is on the Solana blockchain, and it's extremely high risk. So it's trading at 1.5 cents. They've got a circulating supply, it says, of 26 million DAOs. Doesn't tell us. Its fully diluted market cap is $577,000 and its market cap is $388,000. So this ties in really well to Verge. And I asked one of the VCs that I know that knows them to reach out to them and see if they're working, and they said they have lost some of their developers who have been hired away to some other. They still have some of their key developers, and they're still working hard. Their app works and is functioning. It's just the Solana blockchain has been in a big retracement, as well as the greater market's been in a retracement. So there hasn't been as much focus on it, but they're still in and working. So that was all good news, because sometimes if they just hold on and don't die before the next run, things can turn around. Hey, welcome 158 beats. Would you pay 3 ETH for a Myria node? Now, there were some opportunities for those with certain connections to get them for 1.5 ETH in the pre-sale, even if you were in the US. 3 for a Myria node, probably still worth it. Probably still worth it, but there's so much on sale, right? So we know that Gala nodes, and there's a lot of parallels between Gala and Myria, and Gala has been out now for about a year, and their nodes were initially selling for about $10,000 or below. I think a pre-sale price maybe half of that, and now they're selling for like $300 and something thousand. Now the problem with these nodes is you can't resell them, so you can't turn around and sell your node to someone else, but you harvest tokens over a 5-year period, plus you get NFTs and everything. So somebody feels there's enough value that they're paying $300,000 for a Gala node. So I know that 3 ETH is a heck of a lot less than 300,000, and assuming that Myria does somewhat close to what Gala has done, then probably the value is still there. Am I going to be buying one? No, I was able to get some at the 1.5 price, and I did load up on that. So I'm pretty heavy into Myria, like really heavy. And so I believe in it, especially after the interview with the CEO. Thank you for the shirt. I like the shirt a lot. My wife and I got it. We flew to Vegas and just for a getaway a number of weeks ago and bought it there. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up? I know. So Illuvium, in case I didn't nail it on the summary, love this project. Love the leadership of it. That the team is top notch. They have a marketing director named Andrew Wall that's phenomenal. So much experience in marketing and just content production. I feel like he's the right guy. Kieran is the type of guy that can attract top level leaders. And so I do love this project. I think it's going to be successful. I like that they're making a mini game so that there's something to play as soon as possible. I like that Kieran always focuses on adding value to those who invest in them. Because if you think about it, token purchasers were people who were investing in the project, and he found a way to give back to them. And then the landholders are also investors in the project in a way that they're funding the project. And he's found all these ways to add value to those that hold the land. So my guess is there's some phenomenal long-term benefits to this. The question is, how cheap will they go? I don't know. We know what their starting price is. I don't think they all sell out right at that starting price. How soon they sell out, I don't know. I hope even if it does sell out pretty fast, that then prices drop in the short term or even in the medium term so that I can make a lot of purchases in this, because this one I'd like to own a lot of land pieces for, and I would like to own a lot of their token as well. Now, I believe they're in talks to move it over to Immutable X, which would be fantastic. I hope that's the case. Oh, yes, before we wrap up, too, I got a Wanchain giveaway for everyone. For those of you who follow us regularly, you know that Wanchain is a strategic relationship for us, or a strategic partner. And they do give us 500 won to give away. And so we give away 125 won every Friday on our live streams. And so today's Friday, and we'll give that away. So for our question for the giveaway, Wanchain recently made a collaboration. Hold on, full screen this. Collaboration with IOHK, which we discussed earlier this week in our interview with Dr. Weijia Zhang. And if you haven't watched that interview, watch that, because he talks about the integration between Wanchain, or the collaboration between Wanchain and Cardano. So the question is, for those who follow this episode in which we discussed that IOHK, which is Charles Hoskinson's team that developed Cardano, recently changed their name. What did IOHK change their name to? First person who gives that to us wins, either the abbreviation or the full written out, doesn't matter to me, but the first one that shows up on my screen. Now, the way YouTube works is if you put it in, it shows up immediately on your screen. And Pete D is our winner with IOG. Input Output Hong Kong was changed to Input Output Global, though many people still refer to it as IOHK. It's really now IOG. And I love this strategic, this collaboration between Wanchain, and Wanchain continues to be, in my opinion, the little engine that could, and that they continue to work away. They have some of the smartest people working on some of the biggest problems with cross-chain interoperability, that someday they're going to have their day in the sun and get a lot of attention for the great work that they do. And I have been a long-term investor in Wanchain. I still hold a ton. In fact, I hold more. I'm farming passively on Zookeeper, and it keeps making me more returns, which then I put some into Wan and other things. So I have more Wanchain today than when I started a couple of years ago buying it. All right, good job, Pete. I think Pete, you have me on Discord. Just hit me up there. I'll get your Wanchain address and I will get you your prize. If you haven't already joined us, are you ready to be a rainmaker yourself and to join what I call the Navy SEALs of crypto? Level up your crypto game. Like, why Navy SEALs? Like, have you ever watched the videos on Navy SEAL training? Literally, when there's like too many candidates, they take them to the ocean and they make them link arms and sit there as the waves crash over them. And they do this in the British Army too for their special forces. But they let the waves crash over them and you're freezing, right? Just shy of hypothermia. And they see who gives up and quits. And really, like, that's what it takes to make it in the crypto space, is be one of those that's so stubborn that you're not going to quit. Because say they have 100 candidates at this point in the thing, they only want 80. They literally will keep them there till 20 wash out, right? Isn't that sometimes what it feels like? And so to wash out of Navy SEALs training, all they have to do is then go over, ring the bell, and put their helmet next to the bell on the sand. And then they can get like a warm cup of soup and be whisked away to warmth and sleep in a nice, comfortable bed. And at any point, they can give up and walk away from how hard it is. Because isn't it emotionally hard to be here right now? And isn't that like what we're really going through? Now, if you just for 15 or 30 minutes a day, find some YouTube or some podcast that's really informative in the crypto space, and just 15 to 30 minutes a day dedicate towards learning and growing your understanding in the crypto space. And over time, you learn to make, I guess, how to read the market and make some smart plays, even though you won't always be right. After a number of years, you'll be in the top 1% to 2% with your understanding in the crypto market. And if you made some smart plays, as well as maybe some mistakes, but some smart plays, possibly you'll be in the top 1% to 2% of crypto earners as well. Though I can't give you financial advice here, I do think like an investor, and that's what I share is these principles that are common. They don't even come from me. They come from people who taught me how to think this way. So thanks for joining us today, and hopefully you join us in the longer journey in crypto, because I think if you do, it's going to be a great one. Remember, no rain, no gain.
Came into the space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, you buy before you're good. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I set the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't lead with my heart. The principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic, they dumped it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift.